Hey everyone, it's Rick Buffkin, two plain guys back in the studio today. We're guestless, but hey, me and Adam are here.
That's right. Just the two of us. It's been a while since it's just been the two plain guys in the studio with nobody else.
Yeah, since our introductory, if we'll call it that,
I
our
know.
pilot episode, just people learn about us.
I know. We've come a long ways, it feels like, doesn't it?
I know we've had some great guests, man. We've had some really
Super
good
good guests.
conversations. I hope all of our listeners or subscribers are liking what they're hearing from us.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's been fun to watch this thing develop and turn into, what it's starting to turn into.
Yeah,
Just kind of having real conversations with real people. There's always that aviation part of the discussion, but man, I think I've been kind of like shocked to see how it's just turned into, different avenues and, what's part of people's lives and
yeah,
what they're actually into. And you really see like, what is important to every guest that we've had on.
well, yeah.
And, yeah.
I have found it interesting when they ask us like, what do we talk about? And I'm like, we don't
Hmm.
really know. And we,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. I guess. We'll, so today we don't have any guests. So it's just me and you, obviously.
There is a plan,
There is, yeah, there is a
yeah,
plan.
there's always
Yeah,
a plan on what
yeah,
we're going to
yeah,
talk about, but
yeah. But I guess what people don't really understand, and maybe for future guests,
yeah.
that we do a little bio, we get a little bit of information, but there's nothing scripted. We when we tell them we don't know where this conversation is going to go, we really don't know where it's going to go.
I think that's part of why it's been so good is because what I found is when we open up the floor and we leave some space for people to just
Yeah,
be real and talk about things. If we come into the studio and we have like this plan and we go through a full debrief before with the client with the customer and say here's our talking points. This is what we want to touch on. This is where we want to go. It becomes real rigid. But when we open it up and we give space to people just to talk and be real,
yeah,
the passion for what they do always comes out. But
yeah.
then you get you get a deeper understanding of where they're coming from, and for that I've been so
Oh man,
grateful
yeah.
for what this has
Again,
done.
we've already dropped 3 or 4 episodes. Obviously,
Yeah,
we've got 3 or 4 more canned,
yeah,
and yeah, the conversations and
yeah.
the content's been great.
And there's always a little rollover. So you said we just dropped 3 or 4 episodes, and by the time this comes out, it'll probably be more like 10.
Yeah,
But it's been a fun journey,
it
and
has.
yeah, I can't wait to see where this thing goes. We've got a great response from our community out there. We're definitely having a lot of two plain guys conversations when we meet with people up at
People are
shows,
recognizing us.
customers.
We're
Yeah,
we're semi-famous.
you are semi-famous.
I know you are. You're rocking those New
Yeah, I
Balances. I mean,
know.
you're
Still
working
waiting.
that shoe contract.
I'm still waiting for
New
you.
Balance. If you want to sponsor Two Plain Guys,
Check
Adam Beach.
check the link below in the bio for the new Adam Beach line of New Balance sneakers.
You have one of those closets with hundreds of different pairs of New
I have
Balances.
more shoes now than I did 6 months
I'm trying to
ago.
get you some more with this sponsorship.
Okay, well, I appreciate that.
They will call them the ABs.
Yeah, babies.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe they can put it on there.
yeah, with a little Two Plain Guy logo and AB on them.
That'd be great.
You see those in
I'm
those
I'm
big fancy.
definitely I'm definitely open to it.
So yeah, like you said, we do have a plan for the day. So
Yeah,
we're going to touch on a few different topics. Hopefully,
yeah,
people like. This is a quote unquote aviation based conversation or
yeah.
show.
It always is. Yeah, always is when we come together. And I think this is timely, and it's important for us to get together. Just have us every once in a while on here. We could talk about like the industry and where we are right now. Where we see things going. We definitely wanted to talk about, just some trends that we all kind of face every day in
Yep.
aviation, whether it's maintenance, pilots, flying, if you fly commercial, anything that's out there. We're just kind of here just to cover some topics
Yeah.
and go over it and just say, this is the world that we're living in right now, and where do we see it going from like our perspective, which has a little bit more insight on like technology and things that are coming out, and also maybe cover some topics about things that we all face every day, and how we can always improve.
Yeah. So I was going to say to your point there. I mean, I am obviously been doing this a while. We both have a long time. So
Yeah.
it's been a great job, been a great
I think almost 60 years of experience. Oh, wait,
between
wait,
39 for me.
39 for you, so almost 40, and I'm 26. So yeah,
Yeah. So
that's
some quick math. What was that, 65? Is that
yeah,
right?
it's a lot of years.
It is. Yeah. It's been great. I mean, I love it. I know you do. All of our guests that come on do. It's always their passion comes out.
Yeah,
Um, it's an exciting time, but at the same time, for me, it's kind of scary, right? I mean, we're seeing a lot of new stuff come in. We've
yeah,
got some headwinds. We've got changes. We've got labor issues. So
yeah.
it's exciting to see where we're going on one hand, but the other it's scary because again, we got stuff we need to address as an industry.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that I would agree with that. It can be a little scary at times, and it's a fast paced business environment. Things are always changing. Um, but as we get older, I think that's kind of a good indication for us. If we're pushing the edge like we should be, it should always feel a little bit scary.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if we're ever just like comfortable and we get into that complacent setting, then we're probably not doing all of the right things that we should be to be progressing, our business.
yeah,
And so that scary, uncomfortable feeling, doing those things every once in a while, and trust me, it's the easy way to do it is to find your comfort zone and try and stay there, with your little warm blanket on.
I
But the people who get out there and like change things and improve the industry, and this is for whatever industry that you might be in,
oh wow,
the people who are constantly pushing that status quo and trying to get better.
yeah. It's a little. You must be living in my head or something because little shout out to one of my kids.
Oh yeah,
He got a job promotion
shout
here
out.
recently, and he's like, "Man, I'm really nervous, Dad."
Yeah,
I said, "It's okay to be nervous and be scared. It means you're pushing hard.
yeah,
You're going out there. You're getting outside that comfort zone. To your point, you're getting outside that comfort zone, and again, I think you're 100% on spot on. If you're not getting out there and making yourself nervous, you're not reaching far enough.
yeah.
Reach on out a little further. Reach out there and grab it.
That's
Get
an
it.
important life lesson to be learning at 22 years old.
Well, yeah.
You know,
We I can apply that. You can as
yeah,
an industry. We can as aviation. I mean, the sky's the limit, right?
yeah,
I mean, we work in that element, but that's it. Sky's the limit,
yeah.
and just get out there and get it.
Usually learn those life lessons with age.
Yes,
know,
that's called wisdom.
wisdom. Yeah, you get those years of experience, and you can look back and you have perspective. And everybody with kids that's listening to this knows that you just want to teach them everything that you know
Oh yeah,
right now while they're young. But respect the process too. And I'm a big advocate for that with my kids too. Like we've always allowed our kids to, make decisions, with boundaries,
yeah,
I guess, like age appropriate boundaries, because I have a 10-year-old at home and I have a 21-year-old who's living on his own. And so age appropriate boundaries. But yeah, I've always been a fan of that, letting your kids make some decisions, because I feel like, they're going to have to learn how to make decisions eventually. So you can let them start learning how to do that at a younger age, or you can start letting them learn how to do that as an adult.
yeah.
And usually the consequences are much greater as you get older.
Well, it's okay to let them fall down once in a while,
Yeah,
as long as you're there so
I
they
know.
don't hit too hard.
I know. Don't be a helicopter parent. I was always that dad where my kid fell down, and it's like I would like try and not
Jump up and go get them.
right.
Yeah.
I try and not be like, oh, you okay?
But you also make sure, hey, is he?
Yeah.
He's still good.
There's no blood.
He's
You're
conscious.
good.
He's conscious. Semi.
Yeah. So
Well, that's cool.
yeah, no, great to be here. Yeah, let's talk about some some things that's going on right now in the
Yeah.
industry, and we've had some like questions that have come in, and people that kind of ask questions that you and I get asked a lot.
Yes.
From customers. Of course, we live in the MRO world, so what we see every day is, clients that bring their airplane to us, and they're getting some level of maintenance performed on their aircraft. Modifications. That could be a regular, inspection, that's being done on their airplane. You're just kind of in and out for a quick event, or it could be a long event. That could be, a multi-shop type of an event, we call it, where you've got an inspection happening. You've got maybe paint being done to the airplane, interior, avionics upgrades, connectivity. We could go on and on and on about, all the things. But, we see planes that come into our shops for as short as maybe 2-3 days. And we've got some projects that come into our shops that might be here for
2 or 3 months.
Several months.
Yep.
So let's start out with a question that we get a lot. And it's not really a question, but I think what we can sum it up as is what customers don't see that's going on behind the scenes when they drop their airplane off, right? Or maybe even before they drop their airplane off.
Yeah.
So customers coming into us, let's say from the initial contact with maybe a sales guy, they say, hey, I need to come in. I need to get ABC done on my airplane. What do they don't see from the minute that you get that phone call? Walk me through the process.
Well, so what they don't see is the army of people that it takes to get, they don't see, it's funny, to your point, they call, we're going to say paint and interior. We'll that's your area of expertise from your background.
Yeah.
But what they don't see that we have to do, first thing we got a army of people that have to start getting together all this data. What kind of paint job? Do you want a basic paint job? Do you want a customized paint job? Do you want a split base paint job? Do you want metallics? Do you want clear coat? Do you want pearl coat? Do you want
There's a lot
custom
of
graphics in it? There's stuff, the industry has come, used to a paint job was white 2 stripes. Nowadays, you name the paint shop and they're painting any and everything. I mean, I think of some of the airplanes out there with, full graphics down the side of them. I mean, flip-flop paint, pictures, you name it anymore, it can be done.
Yeah.
So, there's this big database that we have to go through that they don't see to even just get to the point, okay, let's get a price put together and let's get that in front of them. So they don't even see, that takes 2 or 3 days. People don't understand that hey, why can't you just tell me what's going to cost to have my airplane painted? Well, again, we want just basic or you want something flashy.
Yeah.
And we get requests, as all over the place.
Yeah, we started seeing that trend change, speaking primarily to paint and interior only. We started seeing that change, I don't know, probably back in maybe the early 2000s, where before then, these corporate jets, these business jets were primarily like, corporate vehicles.
Yes.
So you had a lot of corporations that owned them. It was more of just like a means of moving people around, and they didn't really want the flashiness of it. As we started getting later into the 2000s, into the 2010, 15, there was a shift that started to happen, maybe even before that, where you started having these private individuals would own these as their own personal means of transportation. They would still, maybe have some company branding on there, but there definitely was a shift where we started seeing more personal touches coming into the design elements.
An extension of them. Of
paint and interior. And so before, it was very common just to see like a very earth tone, tans, color schemes, interiors, basic paint on the outside of the airplane, Matterhorn white, 2 stripes, call it a day. That's pretty easy to figure out. Then you're just talking about like, what color stripes do you want? That's pretty much the only question that you need.
Yeah. And how many?
And now,
and most of the time it was 2, maybe 3 if you were out there.
Yeah. But now we've got, actual owners of the airplanes coming into a design meeting with our teams and picking out every color for their interior, from the fabric that goes on the divan to the stitching on the seats to, custom scheme carpet, which some of our aircraft carpet vendors are just amazing. They can basically hand make anything that you want them to, as long as you've got the time. because that process does take a while. But yeah, there's a lot of personal touches going on, and we started seeing that shift where before you would only see it every once in a while, but now it's becoming more and more normal
Yeah.
to have happen. So that's a good point. So for paint and interior, yeah, sure. There's a lot of questions. So from that first initial conversation, our job is to try and gather some information.
Yep.
Ask them some of those questions, and that's that's for the customer, but it's also for our internal team, because there's going to be a flurry of emails and phone calls that happens right after the initial request that you have to get with your design people. You have to get with your interior folks. So you have to talk about timeline, when they want to come in. Is that doable based on, okay, you want custom carpet and you want, paint, but the customer is telling me he needs this done. He can give it to us for 3 or 4 weeks. That's not going to happen.
Yep.
Because custom paint by itself is going to take, 4 to 5 weeks minimum. And some of the lead times on these interior parts that you're, these fabrics, let's say, that you want to put in your airplane, they've got a 16-week lead time. So I can't even get these parts for, 3-4 months. There's a lot of things that have to happen. That's where our professionalism, our, what we do every day is so important to kick the job off correctly. And our customers, not that they don't see that or understand that, I think they do, but they come to us because, we're the experts, and they don't want to deal with all of the details. They want to give it to us, tell us what they want, and have us, get it done.
So that was a long answer to the lead in of what they don't see on the front side.
And
now the airplane's here.
And there's a lot of things that they don't see. That was just a very quick,
that's just the tip.
Yeah, I mean, we could spend this whole time, our whole day here today talking about that kind of stuff, but yeah, I would say that from what our customers don't see is, like, from the time they call us, there's a very carefully planned and executed process that begins. From, just the initial gathering of information, setting up the team, figuring out the timeline, when is, who's going to be assigned as the lead on this project, or the project manager. All of these things, right? We're starting to build a timeline around this, and it's all for the success of the end project.
Yep.
And so a lot of work starts to happen as soon as the customer calls us. I don't think they necessarily see that, but there's probably been dozens of emails and, hours spent on the phone.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they don't see the time that goes into it just to accurately give them a price.
Right. So that's leading up to the airplane showing up. Let's talk about when the airplane finally arrives at the hangar. What does the customer don't see what's happening in the background?
He doesn't see it getting. Maybe the hangar has to be refilled, reshuffled, get it in there. Flight control's got to start coming off. Protection's got to be start putting on the aircraft.
Yep.
We use these airplanes are chemically stripped. They may or may not realize that.
Yep.
Some of the surfaces can't be stripped. They have to be sanded by hand.
Yep. Composite areas.
Yeah. Right.
Specifically. Yeah.
So they've got all that going on, and that's just prepping the airplane to be visual inspection.
Yeah.
If we find any areas that's got to be repaired, that opens up a whole nother thing that we got to go back to Mr. Customer and say, hey, look, you may not know this, but you got some dings, you got some dents, you got some corrosions, you got some areas that we need to address to give you a safe airplane back.
Which is always the end result. The goal. That's our goal always. Safe airplane, hopefully on time. All of those other things are great, but number one, safety, always first in this industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right. It's a lot of that stuff that they don't see. It's also the amount of, let's say we talked paint and interior, but let's say we're doing like a heavy inspection, paint and interior, avionics, connectivity. Let's say we're doing everything. Right?
Oh, yeah.
We're doing all of it. Big event. You can't just, there has to be a timeline that's developed.
Yes.
That works for every individual job.
Because you got multiple shops
right.
with multiple technicians, and they get to a point, you get somebody on it becomes inefficient,
It becomes inefficient.
and it slows the process.
It slows the process down, and we want to give the plane back to you as soon as we can, safely. But if that plane's going to get a heavy inspection and there's a lot of, corrosion inspections specifically happening on the plane, sometimes the plane will come in and the first week of the project is we're going to strip the airplane because we can't get a good look at the actual, skin of the airplane until the paint's off of it.
Yes.
We know it's going to get painted, but on our timeline, it doesn't go into the paint bay for, to start that work for maybe 4 or 5 weeks until after it shows up.
Yep.
So we may throw that plane into strip, day number 2,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's going to sit in the hangar fully stripped. Well, that's good. And here's the reason why, because we've all been there before, but there's nothing more frustrating than going through a heavy inspection, getting done with that inspection, going to paint, and then finding out there's corrosion.
Yes.
You want to find that out on week 1, not week 6.
Yep.
And so that's the behind the scenes stuff where all of our people are coming together, for a job that size with all, like a full, paint, interior, avionics, everything. There's meetings happening before the plane shows up. You got, 30 people in this room, and they're all having an opportunity to say, "Hey, listen, these are my concerns. We need to consider this. Have we thought about this yet?" Right? Because you and I have good ideas. Everybody has good ideas, but when you put us all together in a room, those are our best ideas.
Yeah.
And so we can build out a really good plan for you, and kind of get that kicked off. So yeah, the plane comes in, typically the interior comes out right away. So you have access to the airplane. Sometimes it gets painted. And let's say we go into a heavy inspection. That's your field of expertise. Like,
Yeah.
what have you seen there that's
Well,
most efficient?
Again, I don't think customers see or understand. We got a room, like you said, of 30 people. Well, how does my timeline affect your timeline?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I can't do this till you do that,
Or exactly.
or
Yeah.
vice versa.
Yeah, right. That's a big part too. That kind of flows into like what we call like WIP meetings or work in progress meetings, where those occasional check-ins throughout the process of the event, where we have to sit down together. It's not just let's get together once and we'll figure this thing out. You need to do that. On a 6 or 8 or 10 week long process, you might need to do that 4 or 5,
I'm
6
glad
times.
you said that, because probably I don't think the customers see and realize, again, all this is going on
Behind the scenes.
before the airplane even gets here.
Yeah. He's getting like
There's
an update every once in a while on how
know.
things are going.
Would you think it'd be unrealistic to say 60, 70, 80 hours of planning, just planning, before the airplane gets here? Because again,
It could be
I've
more.
got to establish a timeline on the maintenance side.
Yeah.
I've got to have my milestones to where say, all right, we're going to get it in, like you said, we're going to strip it, and it comes back over to maintenance. Well, we still got to get the interior out. We got to let the interior guys have room to work. We got to get them out. They go do their thing. Now I've got my crew. We're doing maintenance stuff. I've got to factor in what I think I'm going to find based on airplane age, time.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Known areas, hot areas on the airplane of what to look for, where to look for, what we typically see on that airframe.
Regionally, where the airplane's based at.
Yep.
High corrosion.
So
levels.
then I got to kind of say, okay, I'm going to need probably 2-3 weeks, whatever it may be, based on job scope to complete the work, establish my discrepancies, get approvals,
Yeah.
get it fixed. So then I don't hold you up on the next step in this project. To get it back, it's got to go back to the paint shop.
Mm-hmm.
Customers don't realize these airplanes have to be allodyed.
They should be.
They should, well, should be.
Yeah, right.
Good point. There's areas that have to have certain kind of primers, P-static. All this goes on. It's not as simple as people think. Oh, you roll it in, you take the paint off, and you put the paint on.
Yeah.
It sounds that simple.
Yeah.
But it's not.
And here's the thing. We can build the best plan possible.
Oh, yeah.
Before that airplane shows up. It could be like just bulletproof.
It's probably going to change.
And how often, the second, the maintenance guys come in, they start opening it up, and then we find a big squawk. We find a problem. That shifts everything in the timeline. Now we have to communicate that back to our customer. We have to say, hey, listen, we found this. We're working through it. We're talking with engineers and all these people getting a repair process in place. We're shifting the timeline now. We're shifting the timeline. That's not, the customer here is like, okay, well, I'm not delivering on June 1st now. Maybe I'm delivering, June 20th.
Yep.
That's one part of the puzzle, but there's 4 or 5 or 6 different shops. It's like, okay, so now interior can't pull out the interior now. That's shifting a week. Maintenance is going to have the plane opened up. We had this paint slot set for the airplane to go in. And for anybody in the world out there listening, everybody knows paint runs the MRO world. Those slots are very hard to move.
They are.
Because when you've got, we've got 3-4 months of backlog paint jobs coming in here. And because of the process and the way that it happens, interior and avionics and maintenance, you can kind of adjust your schedule and manpower allocations and things like that pretty easily.
Yep.
Paint is extremely hard to move 2 weeks to the right on the calendar, because you didn't just affect that paint slot. Now you affected the next 3 or 4 paint slots, because this plane was supposed to be gone, but it's not, and it's still in the paint bay. And I've got another plane that just showed up.
I'm glad you said
all of these things. So that's a really good example of stuff customers probably don't see.
Well, you just said the other airplane. That's the other thing. And I understand at any time when that customer individual's airplane in there, that's all he cares about, his airplane. But us as an organization, and all the MROs, hey, guess what? There's 5 or 10 or 15 of these going on at the same time.
Yeah. Walk into the hangar today, and there's 60 airplanes in there, and all of them have their own individual timeline, their own customers, their own communication and challenges, and then guess what? We just had a winter storm. Last week, Memphis is shut down. FedEx is out. We can't get parts. There's so many things.
Hey, we had one, this past winter, our shop, the big ice storm that hit Nashville, our shop up there in that area, there were 3 or 4 days that they didn't have power. They had no power and maybe 3 or 4 techs.
Right.
Versus where they normally got 40, 50.
Yeah. So
we're down to 3 guys all of a sudden.
It's so funny to talk about, because this is just, and for everybody listening that does, lives in the world that we live in, they get it.
Yeah.
They're like, yes, I
hope
hear
they're
you.
applauding us.
Yeah. They're
cheering us on.
They're like, listen, somebody is finally saying it, but we're all saying it. We all know that it's there, but we become so equipped to work through situations. And it's a big reason why aviation is so great, because man, you become such a problem solver, and the second that a problem comes up, you're thinking about 3 ways to fix it.
You have to be.
And you have to be, because there's always a problem and there's always a situation.
I think as we get, basically, like you said, we could sit here and talk about this all day long. But as we get, I think, because I know we got several topics we want to touch on, but, I think what the customer doesn't see, we don't want your airplane here no longer than it has to be.
Yeah.
We understand that you need it, you want it, you need it, you're using it. We don't want it here longer. We are giving you our best laid plan, our best efforts, but, things change. There's so many unknowns when you start getting these big projects, because you start getting into areas of the airplane that you just don't know, and you can find a small problem, or you can find a as we call them in the industry, a showstopper, a game changer.
A game changer. Yeah.
And there again, you've got to understand, please, that what you don't see is, again, we're dealing with this on multiple levels, multiple airplanes, multiple levels of intensity or findings or whatever you want. So, we as MROs, all of them, we don't like your airplane being here no longer than it has to be.
I think it's safe to say we share the same frustrations.
Yeah.
The customer is frustrated. We get it. You have that trip planned, and we told you you'd have your airplane back on this date, and you did the right thing, and you said, listen, I've been in aviation a long time. I've owned a lot of airplanes. I'm going to give you guys like a 2-week buffer because I know how things can go. Okay, great. Thank you for doing that, right? Please do not plan your family vacation to Europe
The day after.
the day after or the day that you plan to pick up the airplane, right?
Yeah.
Most guys get that. But you're right. Yeah, when these things happen, it's frustrating for us too, because we want you to be happy when you leave. We want you to have a good event that goes smoothly and delivers on time, and we don't hear from you for 2 months, and when we do hear from you, it's just to let us know everything's great and we have no squawks on the airplane, right? That's what we want. But when the schedules shift, and especially when it's out of our control in a lot of cases, it's frustrating for us too. Not only because we couldn't give you what we wanted to, that on-time delivery squawk free, but because it's throwing a huge wrench into the fan of everything else that we've got coming in to our schedule. And so, we're working hard behind the scenes to try and get you back on track, but we're also working really hard behind the scenes to try and figure out what do we do with these next 5 airplanes that were showing up this week that we don't have a place to put them now.
Oh, yeah.
And so you got planes sitting on the ramp and you've got all these things happening. So it's a great conversation. It's something that we think about and talk about a lot because it affects our, every day of our life. But anybody that does this long enough understands what you and I are talking about here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, again, we could talk about it all day. Now, let's talk about this, Adam. Why does it cost so much?
Why does it cost so much? That's a loaded question.
Oh, yeah.
It could be for a lot of reasons, honestly. Well, let me start by saying this. When it comes to cost, just for a cost of an event, whether it's maintenance, scheduled maintenance, interior paint, I'll throw AOG in there too, unscheduled maintenance, which is going to cost you more. There's different reasons for each circumstance. There's different reasons why it costs so much. But I will say that, we're not working on your Chevy truck here. We're working on
True.
multi-million-dollar assets that, fly at 30,000 feet for 8 hours at a time, and you put your loved ones and your family and your pets and everybody on these airplanes. And so the standard should be and is much, much higher. And I think if you don't understand that comes with an additional price, I don't know how to explain that to you.
Right.
I just don't know how to explain that to you. It should on paper. But yes, we see that. Everybody wants to get a good deal.
Yeah.
When they bring their airplane in, and it's not, a $60 oil change at the dealership for your car. We're doing a 6-week long inspection on your $20 million jet. And so that should come with a price tag. We've got trained people here. We have to keep people employed and happy. And these people have gone to school and they have, very specific, niche backgrounds and things. And those people come with a price tag. And if you want to keep good people working, you can either go to, I'll just say you can go to Chick-fil-A or you can go to Burger King, right? Chick-fil-A, there's a level of service that you expect when you walk in there. You're greeted. It's the same person that's taking your order every time. It's always their pleasure. When they give you your food, they smile. The place is clean. It's nice. It's just you pay for that experience.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad you said something about the oil change in the cars. I did a little, you can Google everything nowadays, right? You can hit AI, you can get whatever. I did a little research before we started talking about these, and we were going to be talking about these topics. The average, this is 2025 numbers I found out just this morning before we came in the studio. 2025, they interviewed 4,000 automotive shops.
Mm-hmm.
2025, remember, we're in 2026 now. The average automobile repair shop labor rate was $143 an hour in 2025 numbers.
Yep. I thought it was going to be higher.
I did too. But the average aircraft labor rate is $137.50.
Yeah. Why is that?
But yet people don't mind taking their car.
Yeah.
These owners and these companies,
Sure.
it's no problem to go take the car to be
Yeah.
worked on.
I mean, in the defense of all the DOMs and the aircraft owners out there, it's not a $3,000 repair on your car at the dealership. It's a $300,000 bill at the end of a heavy inspection. You're talking bigger numbers, and so
Sure, of course you are.
there's more room there, and I feel like there's a thought that there's maybe more wiggle room to get some deals, and there's not as many MROs out there in the world too, so it's a little bit more competitive in the market. I think that's part of this conversation too, but it's that old adage. It's like, what is the saying? You can have it fast, you can have it cheap,
Yep.
or you can have it done right. You can't have all three. You can only pick two, right?
Yep.
So you can either have it fast and cheap, but it's not going to be a good job. That's kind of the takeaway from it. You can get it done right, and you can have it fast, but it's not going to be cheap. So it's that kind of a thought process. I think we're trying to give our customers the best value. Let me use that word, value.
That's a good.
And I'm not saying value to me doesn't mean the cheapest.
No.
Value to me means you're going to get the best job done in a good downtime, that it's going to get done in a reasonable amount of time, and you can pick up your airplane and expect that it's done right.
I was up in the shop yesterday. We've been down here a couple of days shooting episodes for Two Plane Guys. I'm gonna give a shout out to Stevens
Aerospace.
If I think it's okay. I think it's appropriate. Had an airplane. The customer said they got multiple bids. They said you guys weren't the cheapest.
Yeah.
Openly said that. Said, but you guys in the bid package did not ask for additional downtime.
Interesting.
They also said when they picked it up, they said it's the first time they've picked up an aircraft squawk free.
Yeah.
So people are willing to pay more money, to your point,
That's a value.
and get it done.
Yeah.
And get it done right.
Yes.
And that comes at a cost. To
That'll-
your point, you can't have all three here. We can't have fast, cheap,
And
quick.
and done right. Yeah.
You gotta give up something. So value is in the eye of the beholder.
Always. It always is. Yeah. And
It don't do you no good to go somewhere and save 20% on your maintenance bill, but you got to take it back 3 times to get the same thing fixed.
this actually opens up a broader discussion on this topic. I feel it's understanding your individual customer.
Yes.
Okay. Because we can't just have this conversation and assume that all customers they operate their airplane the same way. Okay. And here's an example. What I mean by that is you take a guy that's, a business guy, maybe he's retired. Let's say he's got a King Air 350. That's his airplane, lives down in Texas, loves that airplane, uses it to take his family on trips, does a little business with the airplane, still kind of in the game. But it's kind of a leisurely airplane.
Yeah.
Okay. He wants to take it somewhere where he's going to get a good value, but he's willing to give you a little more time to do it because, if he doesn't need the airplane back in 3 weeks.
Because he can.
Yeah, because he can.
Yeah.
And he
can give you
understands
that
that.
time.
So he doesn't need the airplane back as soon as possible. So his takeaway in his mind is that I'm going to give you guys a little bit extra time with this airplane, but I kind of expect, to have some,
Gotta be reasonable.
work with me on the bill here.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Now going to the other side of the spectrum, the 135 operator that comes in, that's putting 150, 200 hours a month on his, Challenger 300.
That airplane's a revenue generator.
He's got to have that thing flying. Yep. Every day that airplane's not flying, he's losing, $50,000 to $100,000 in lost revenue.
Yep.
Because he charters that thing multiple flights every day up and down the coast. So he needs that thing back as soon as possible. When we start hearing that part of the conversation come out, to me, that's like, okay, fast and cheap, that doesn't work, right? So we're gonna build a plan specifically for that operator that says we're gonna throw a bunch of people on this airplane because, you know, the job you're bringing to us should take 4 weeks, but you're asking for it back in 3. So we've got to build out a plan now. The shop has to build a plan so that we get that done a week faster. How are we going to do that? Okay, so we're going to have to throw some overtime at this. We're going to have to front load the project. We're going to have to get real creative on how we do this, you know, pre-order parts, all these things.
Yep.
And so for that customer to come in, the understanding should be, in my mind, that I'm going to pay a little bit of a premium, but we cannot skimp on quality. Yep. It still has to be done right, because if you give me my plane back on time, but I got to bring it back to you the next week because there's 6 or 7 squawks, that doesn't help me out at all.
That doesn't mean any good.
So I need it done fast and I need it done right. And for us, we're going to say that's probably going to cost a little bit more because we have to build this time. There's overtime. We have to pay these employees time and a half. All these things have to happen. And so I think that's pretty widely understood in the industry, but every once in a while we have to talk a customer through that and just say like, hey, your quote came back about, $20,000 or whatever. Let's say your quote came back about 20 grand higher than the other guy, but you guys told me you could hit the downtime and this other guy's going to need the airplane an additional 7 days. So that in the customer's mind, he's saying, well, in that 7 days, I'm going to lose about $500,000 in lost revenue. Let's pay the extra $20K, take it to these guys.
Yeah.
They've got a good reputation, and Stevens does a great job at that.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. Which, talking about that premium, you mentioned it when I asked you why that costs so much. AOG, that's what it's all about.
That's a whole conversation in and of itself.
Get that airplane back up in the air as quick as possible.
AOG is, everybody knows what AOG is, but that is in the heat of the moment. Something has happened. It's not scheduled. You're in a panic. And it's probably happening at the worst time, right? The worst time for me on an airplane operation would be you've got the CO on the plane, his family's there, they're stranded in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the person we get the phone call from is probably like a director of maintenance. He said, hey, we're AOG.
Or a chief pilot.
We're AOG. Here's the situation. Number one, they want somebody to pick up the phone.
Yes.
They need a person to pick up the phone or answer an email or however they reached out to us. They need a response back fast. And that's my number one priority when I get an AOG call is to respond and try to understand what the situation is. And then immediately start building out a plan on how to get them, rescued, how to get them flying again. Because this guy's already his boss is like, get me an airline flight back home. I have to get back. I've got a meeting tomorrow. I can't miss it. All of these things happen. And so he's got 100 other things going on. If I can take one thing off of his plate, the guy that called me, if I could take one thing off of his plate and just let him know, we got this. We're on our way.
Yeah.
That is what the AOG call wants to hear.
It is. And they, again, it's at the worst time when they call. So that at that point, I don't want to say money's not an object, but it's almost not an object.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it is. Money's always an object, but yeah, again, you should expect for that not to be like your super competitive shop scheduled maintenance labor rate. You know, that's not how that works. AOG is always going to cost you more.
Oh, absolutely.
And but there's a reason for it too. And the technician that you're going to get that arrives, he's going to know what's going on, understand the situation, and have a plan built out on how to help.
Yeah, prior to him even getting to the airplane.
Yeah, he's probably communicating with you on the way to your plane. He's giving you updates on how far out he is, what they think is going on. Maybe we should pre-order some parts, get them coming. They're doing all of those logistics behind the scenes.
Yep. So when he hits there, he hits the ground running.
Yeah.
And gets you back in the air as quick as you can.
I have AOG moments myself at home. I swear to you, my wife and I, we have this running thing going on where like every time I'm out of town, something happens on the car, like clockwork. She always calls me. I know what the call is, and it's like, it's a flat tire. It's something small, right? It never happens when I'm there, and I think to myself like, this is kind of like AOG, because that stinking car never breaks when I'm. She never calls me and says, "Hey, I got a flat tire. I'm on the side of the road." I'm like, "Oh, I'm 5 minutes away. I'll just swing over and pick you up. We'll get you out." No, it's like I just left. I'm going to be gone for 3 days, and there's a check engine light on the dashboard, right? And so now I'm working through like, okay, I'm gone. I can't get back, but here's what I can do, right? We'll call the shop. What is the actual problem? What's make the noise that the car's making? Let me hear it, right? I'm trying to diagnose what's going on. And it's funny because like she would hear this and she'd be like, yeah, that's true. That's exactly how it goes. But it never happens at the right time. It's always happening at the worst time.
So, can we say then AOG in your world is either Amanda, oh gosh, or Adam, oh gosh? Which one do you want to go
we'll
with?
We'll call it Adam.
Adam, okay, yeah.
Yes, because it is definitely my job, to take care of things on the home front. And
Oh, of course.
If you work in town and you're always there, it's a little bit easier to handle. But a car situation, which is something that we can all relate to, is just frustrating. It's just frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
In an airplane situation, the stakes are even higher.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Way higher.
Always higher.
And with bigger implications, it affects, because most, like I said, most of these, I've told people before, they say, what does corporate airplanes do? What does GA airplanes do? What does private aircraft do? I said, they manufacture time, and most people are using them for just that.
Yeah.
And when it breaks, it has a big ripple effect.
Yeah. Yeah, shout out to all of the AOG team members out there. The guys on the road, the guys in the trucks at the airports. For me, what I tell everybody is, you're never going to plan for an AOG moment, but you should always have a plan.
Yeah.
On when it comes up, which it will. This is what we're going to do, right? So you've seen the AOG cards and everything. We pass them out to everybody. Everybody does that. But when I get a phone call or you get a phone call, we're AOG. They didn't just call us. They've probably called or emailed 3 or 4 different companies, and they're just waiting for somebody to call them back.
Who can act first?
Who can act first, right? And it's frustrating for operators when they say, hey, we're all tied up right now. Soonest we can be over to you is next week, Tuesday. And that doesn't help.
Well, because believe it or not, I'm glad you said that. Shout out to the AOG techs, but all the companies, they only have a certain amount of AOG techs.
Right.
It's not like they got a shop full of AOG guys.
Yeah, no.
And a parking lot full of AOG trucks. There is a small amount, and
they're busy.
They're busy.
They're super busy.
And that is a tough world to live in. I mean, these guys, you're talking about what people don't know. These guys are driving most of the time. Sometimes they are able to airline, but most of the time they're driving a truck, a van, whatever it may be, because they got their equipment, they got their tools, and they gotta log some windshield time.
Yeah.
To get there, to go straight into action.
Yeah, airplanes never break right next to an AOG truck parked at a major airport.
Really?
No. No, I thought
they did.
That's the algorithm, man. Those planes, they know where they're at, I swear, and they break in the remote airports out in the middle of nowhere, and there's a blizzard coming in 6 hours, right? That's always how it goes.
Well, that's what people need to realize, that when these airplanes, most of the time these private airplanes, they're not going to major airports. They have these to stay away from the major airports.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they can.
There's not a lot of support on them.
They're in and out of the remote regional airports a lot.
Yep.
And so, when you get that phone call, it's like, A, can you get to me? Do you have somebody available? If the answer is yes, it's like, okay, B, where are they? And they could be 6 hours away.
Yeah.
And their tools everything that they have that they need to work and fix your airplane are on that truck. And so they've got to bring the truck with them. They can't jump on a plane and be there in an hour.
Right.
So they start driving. But that's where we can help the situation where, in the meantime, okay, a guy's coming. It's 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, right? It's never Monday through Friday in business hours. It's not when AOG happens.
Yep.
And that's why I go back to have a plan. So assume that when you do go down, when you go AOG, here's the 2 or 3, places that I always call. These guys have given me the best track record over the years of response time. I also say this is a good time for you to build a relationship with an MRO because whether somebody wants to say it or not, if one of my core customers calls me and says, Adam, we are broke, can you help me? Not that I want to treat him better than anybody else, but like I've got a relationship with this guy.
He gets a little priority.
I know his kids. Yep. I know his wife. Like, we've had dinners together, right?
Yep.
So I go to work hard for those people, and I start problem solving, and we put our people in contact with them. And while that technician's on his way, let's say it's 3, 4, or 5 hours, we're talking to him. We're communicating with them. What's going on? We're trying to diagnose over the phone. Can we get parts coming right now so they can be there, 1st a.m. tomorrow morning? AOG guy's going to start diagnosing, maybe troubleshoot some stuff on the airplane. Parts will be there tomorrow. These are all the things that, like a seasoned professional in this industry starts thinking about behind the scenes. And that's why people trust us and they come to us.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. So yeah, shout out to the AOG techs.
Yeah.
So talking about techs, let's talk about that for a few minutes. Let's talk about mechanics, shortages.
Yeah, it's a real problem.
Retirement.
We've talked about that a few times on the show.
Yep.
Yeah, we know it's an issue, and it's easy to, for us to sit down and talk about all the things that we need to fix. But we just had this conversation the other day where it's like, what do we need to do to fix it? How can we start helping today? Maybe it's not going to fix it tomorrow, but if we start helping the problem or treating the issue today, maybe a year from now we're in a better place, and then 5 years from now we're even in a better place. And the conversation even went into like generational gaps.
Oh yeah.
Where we do a lot of work with like the local universities, and we've talked about it on the show, but like Embry-Riddle, Stevens Aerospace has a strong relationship with Embry-Riddle, and we're talking to those technicians. But I think you said yesterday, but yet these young people are already on the path of aviation. Maybe we need to go back even earlier and like, how do we start becoming an airplane mechanic or a pilot or whatever? How do we make that cooler to kids at a younger age?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Well, let me give you some numbers. I'm a numbers guy. CNN did a report just this year. This was February 27th of this year. Right now, there's 17,000 mechanics short in our industry.
17,000 short.
Yep.
What does that mean?
They need 17,000.
Like we need to produce 17,000 A&P mechanics
like
tomorrow.
Yep, tomorrow.
Wow.
I got a better one for you. Retiring in the next decade. Take a guess.
How many people are going to retire?
A&Ps in the next decade, which is 10 years.
I don't even.
Next 10 years, how many? Just what would you think?
I mean, I would have to know how many A&P mechanics are in the country. I'd say we're probably getting ready to lose 20% of our workforce.
Okay, yeah, so I didn't get a total number, but CNN reported within the next 10 years, the aviation industry is going to lose 45,000 mechanics.
I think I just saw something online about this the other day and about how, talking about this point, aviation mechanics, how the problem is bad now, and we know that. But over the next 5 years, the problem is going to get significantly worse.
Well, in another one I read, they said the peak should hit us about 2027 to 2028. And they're estimating that we're going to be somewhere between 30 to 48,000 bodies short.
Okay. So
in the MR, or in the MRO airline mechanic world. I'm not touching on pilots, ATC, all that stuff. I'm just talking about people who keep these airplanes in the air.
it's worse than what we thought.
Yes,
Yeah. Well,
it is.
I think let's just call it what it is. It's a problem.
It's a huge problem.
It's definitely a problem right now.
Big problem.
We know it. For anybody out there that's gone out and tried to, talk to the schools and hire folks and develop internal, programs where you can like build AMPs up, people who just have like mechanical skills, maybe a little bit of background, and then, get them on the path of becoming an AMP.
Yep.
We need to be thinking about all of those things.
Well, you touched on, I think the key thing is to get to those individuals earlier.
Yeah.
Before their interest gets piqued in something else. Yeah. And I'm not saying getting your interest piqued in something else isn't a good thing, but we haven't done a good job of the industry of saying, hey, we got our own cool factor over here too.
Yeah. Yeah, part of this conversation, and I shared this with you yesterday, but when I moved out to Utah in 2014, my family went out there. My kids were younger, and we moved to this town in Utah. It's called Eagle Mountain, and Eagle Mountain is a small community in south of Salt Lake City. But they were building new schools, and there's a lot of new houses going up, and it was a great place for us. And the year that my son went into high school, they just opened up a brand new high school, and we had no idea about this going into it, but I saw the sign go up, and they're called the Cedar Valley Aviators.
Oh.
And I thought, oh my gosh, here I am, an aviation guy, right? My kids have grown up around this, and my son's interested in aviation. And all of a sudden, he's going to this school where they're the aviators. It is an aviation-themed high school. Okay. And I thought, how cool is this? So as they opened up and he started going there, they actually have programs in their high school where they've partnered with the local universities.
I was to ask you that. So, okay, cool.
And so these kids can actually do like a dual enrollment, like their junior and senior year of high school, where they can start getting flight training, or they can start getting AMP mechanic training if they're interested in aviation. But you walk into the school, and this is what I'm talking about. There's aviation memorabilia everywhere. They've got like a replica Wright Flyer hanging from the ceiling in the atrium of the school when you first walk in. I'm like on cloud 9 walking in there. I'm like, this is so cool. They've got bench seats out in front of the office in the hallways that are old airline seats.
Oh, wow.
And they've got the old ashtrays and stuff in the armrest and things, which I don't know if that's a great thing to have in high school, but they've got the seat belts and everything. Everywhere you look in there, you go into the library and there's aviation artwork on the wall. There's a whole section in there of aviation history and all these things. That's what I'm talking about. If we can start getting kids interested in aviation at a younger age, and it's these little seeds that we can plant along the way, we cannot just leave it up to the guys who are in the industry that say, I hope my kid gets interested in aviation someday. That'd be cool. There's not enough of us out there to backfill, the exodus that's happening or getting ready to happen, as you said.
Yeah.
And so that, to me, that's how we need to be thinking. We still need to keep supporting the local universities and Embry-Riddle and, out my way, the big schools out there. Utah State has a great AMP program. Salt Lake Community College has a great program. Utah Valley University, they don't have a maintenance program, but they've got a flight school there. There's a lot of aviation in that area. People will naturally always want to become pilots, and I think that they've got a pretty good feeder, but we need to figure out a way to do that for mechanics.
No, I agree. That's I don't know I guess unfortunate would be the word. Everybody thinks of aviation pilot.
Well, every time if my wife tells somebody like, "Hey, this is my husband Adam. He's in aviation," they're like, "Oh, you're a pilot."
Yeah.
They're like, "No, I'm actually not a pilot."
You look like a pilot. You're kind of pinky up.
Yeah, right.
But
thank you.
But no, and they're airlines, either pilot and airlines.
Yeah.
But this GA world, this corporate world, that is the bulk of our world as MROs. That's what we work on. We work on corporate business jets, high net worth individual jets,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother world,
Yeah.
as big or I don't know, maybe bigger than airline world, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know,
A lot of more opportunities.
there's a lot of opportunities, and I know a lot of companies are good at this, but I love it. I love walking through a hangar and seeing a tour coming through there with high school students, or maybe 5 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon, just after hours. There's a group of like Girl Scouts coming through there with
Yeah.
their leaders. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Aviation in of itself is a cool industry to be in. And I use that word because, we want to get the kids involved, right? It's got to be kind of like interesting and fun and cool, and it's got to be the things that they want to see. But if you just put it in front of them and just let it do it itself, like, they'll naturally gravitate towards it because it's so interesting. There's so many moving parts happening. There's this huge airplane. I've never seen this before. And this building is enormous, right? And all of these things. But we've got to create a pathway to get more touch points for kids at a younger age, to get them into the hangar and just see what we do.
I think back to, and we've talked about on our first episode of Two Plane Guys how we both got into aviation. And I'm sitting here thinking back when you're talking about that at an earlier age. When I went to high school, we had vocation classes. You had brick mason, you had woodworking, you had automotive mechanics,
welding, carpentry.
You had ag classes. Small engine repair. You had things like that.
You went to a country school.
I did.
Yeah, me too.
Yep. But there was never anything about aviation. I'm sitting here as you're thinking. I'm like, man, he's right, and it really goes way back because, I'm in my late 50s now, but I can think back into the 80s when I was in high school. There was no one ever coming to school going, "You ever thought about airplanes? You ever thought about aviation?" As we talked in our first episode, I stumbled into aviation applying for a truck driving job.
Yeah. And
you were in Michigan, not really thinking about aviation. Some buddies, said you'd need a job, and your buddies were like, "Hey, come over here. This place is hiring."
Yeah, and people ask you that all the time. How did you get into aviation? And my response has just become, I'm just lucky, I guess.
Well, I think what you hit on was right, though. I think we've done a bad job of the industry is relying on people inside the industry to, when you have kids, dad was in aviation, so that's why I'm in aviation.
Yeah.
And that's where I think now we're reaping that, and it's not a good benefit we're reaping. We're suffering from the fact that we haven't done a good job promoting our industry at all opportunities for people.
I think we can do better.
We 100% do better.
Yeah, and it goes back to our original point where we need to constantly be in that uncomfortable position with what we're doing, right? And it's easy just to say, like, we've got this business figured out, right? This is what works. This is what doesn't work. Let's do that. But we can't do that and forget that we've got to take care of the future of our industry too.
Yeah.
We've got to be planting seeds for next season's crop, right?
Absolutely. No,
You can't just plant once and then harvest and say, I'm good forever. You've got to harvest and you've got to replant, and you got to harvest and you got to replant. And that's what we're talking about. We need to be planting those seeds along the way as we're continuing down, the business. And so, I think we can do a better job. And this isn't to beat up on the aviation industry. It's just to recognize that there's a problem and to use this platform of our show, our podcast, to talk about these things so that more people can start talking about it.
Yeah.
That's what we want this whole thing to be. This is why we do this, why we talk about it. Like, you and I are going to talk about these things by ourselves all the time. But if we can get some more engagement out there and say, you know what, those guys are right.
We need the companies. I'm just
all of them.
We need the companies. We can't depend on the Embry-Riddles and the local community colleges, and thank God for all them.
They're already doing
that. They're out there doing.
They're
doing
a great job.
They're pushing it, but we need. When I say the industry, we need the companies. We need help from the companies saying, hey, let's once a quarter, let's go down to the high school, or let's talk to some high schools. Let's start talking about aviation.
Yeah.
Or let's figure out a way to get in there and talk about aviation.
The universities that have the the established and develop A&P programs, or the, Spartan schools out there and all of the schools out there that we could rattle off the whole list of names. They're already there, and they're providing the service that we need for them. What we're talking about is helping those schools with admissions, with interest, with kids that want to come up and who are asking questions on, freshman orientation. They're 18 years old. They don't know what they want to do, and they're looking for things to do. We've got to be a draw for those types of kids who are kind of in limbo and they're trying to figure out life, to say, this is a really fun and engaging and interesting industry. You should consider aviation. And then to say, well, what can I do here? And then to have a good, clear path laid out for them. It's, a 2-year program. It's a 4-year program. You're going to walk away with a business aviation, degree plus your A&P license. I still think that all of the MROs need to rally together and figure out a way to have an internal program where
apprenticeship or something like that.
An apprenticeship program. Most of them call it an apprenticeship, where you can highlight key people that come into the shop. And most of those apprenticeship programs are people already in the industry in some capacity that says, hey, I'd like to get my A&P. I'm in the paint shop now.
That's your back shop folks.
Yeah. And
that's not required.
And that's
require
good
an A&P.
too. And that's good too. And there's a lot of upside to doing it that way. But I'm just saying,
So I got it.
It's not one single answer to this question. There's a lot of things, but it starts with us having the conversation.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, like I said, the back shops, I think, get forgotten. And I think people maybe pigeonhole themselves. They think, oh, I'm just an interior guy. I just do seats, or I do carpet, or I just do paint. And I don't mean it that's all they do, but, maybe as companies
don't box them into that.
Maybe as companies we start going, hey Adam, you do a good job in the interior shop. That's great, but have you ever thought about working on the whole airplane? Maybe Adam has, and just Adam don't know the path. Adam's in life. Adam don't have he can't go back to a school. Are we letting people in the back shops know that you can do 30 months OJT, get signed off, and go take a test, and guess what you get? Your A&P license at the end. And now you're showing people inside your company a path forward, how to get out of, or how to grow and how to move up.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many ways, and I'm glad we're talking about this, because I've talked about this numerous times on the show. You have too. It's something that's near and dear to my heart. And yeah, I was a lifelong mods guy. I'm, to this day, 26 years now, I'm not an A&P. I'm not a pilot. Could I have become one? Yeah, I could have become one.
Yeah.
At some point, I'm sure I had, opportunities to do that. It just wasn't the path for me. But we should be asking the question, have you ever, like you said, have you ever thought about doing this? We see a lot of value in what you do. We think you'd be great at this, right? Talk to these young people in a way that's going to build them up and tell them, we've got your back, we support you, and we think you'd be great at this. And sometimes that's all that they need.
Yeah.
It's just for somebody to say, like, hey, we think you'd be really good at this. Would you be interested? And have them say, I've never thought about that before, but you know what? Maybe I am interested in that. Tell me about it. And just to start that conversation with them. So.
Well, no, I mean, I know we've touched on just a few topics. It's been good.
I think, I think we have one really important thing we want to talk about, and I think that we're going to use this for part 2, but let's get into the aviation ecosystem. What I mean by that is, where do we think we're going in the future? We've talked about where we've come, and we've identified some things that we're struggling with, but where do we think we're going? And I think part 2 of this is going to be really interesting.
Yep. So tune in for part 2 of just me and Adam.
That's
no
right.
Guests, 2 Plane Guys. Tell them how to find us.
2 Plane Guys. At 2 Plane Guys. Instagram.
Spotify.
Find us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music. You just type in 2 Plane Guys in the search engine. We're so big now that it's the first thing that pops up. So
So on part 2, we'll pick up on what Adam's talking about on the ecosystem and where we're going.
That's right.
Which
Stay tuned.
Some exciting stuff.